When your child suddenly gets upset the moment you stop playing with them, most parents see it as clinginess or simple frustration. But what if that reaction is actually a window into how their developing brain understands connection, attention, and communication? Today, we are going to look beneath the surface because in gentle parenting, every behavior is a message. And every message tells us something about your child's emotional world. And here is the hook: why your kid gets angry when you say this, and why that reaction matters far more than you think. Many parents don't realize that early social signals, eye contact, gestures, shared excitement, turn-taking are the foundation of healthy child behavior. And in Japanese parenting, there is a core principle that helps us understand these signals more clearly. Observe before you correct. This simple but powerful rule allows us to see what your child is trying to communicate long before they have the words to explain it. In today's breakdown, we will explore why some children look up immediately when play pauses, while others stay locked onto the toy. We will talk about what these reactions mean, how they relate to emotional development, and how gentle parenting can help you respond in a way that strengthens your child's confidence, connection, and communication skills. You're about to see your child's behavior through a completely different lens. One of the biggest misunderstandings in modern parenting is assuming that a child's behavior is always intentional. When your child does not look up when play stops, when they do not point, when they do not respond right away to their name, many parents immediately think the child is ignoring them, being stubborn, or simply in their own world. But in gentle parenting, our first question is always, what is happening inside the child's nervous system? At 18 to 24 months, the brain is undergoing rapid growth in areas responsible for social attention and emotional regulation. Eye contact, pointing, and responding to their name are not just skills, they are developmental bridges. When these bridges are still forming, your child's behavior may look confusing on the outside, even though it makes perfect sense on the inside. For example, when you stop the ball or the toy car during play, some children instantly look up at your face. That tells us their brain is beginning to link emotion, attention, communication. They look at you because they expect your involvement, and they have learned that your reaction helps them understand what comes next. This is healthy, expected child behavior. But other children stay fully locked onto the toy. They may feel surprised, frustrated, or overstimulated by the pause, and their focus narrows even more. This does not automatically mean something is wrong. It may simply mean the child relies more on sensory information than on facial cues to navigate the moment. Their brain is prioritizing the object in their hand rather than the person in front of them. From a developmental perspective, eye contact and gestures are early forms of communication long before language matures. If those skills are delayed, the child may appear less responsive, but the underlying reason is often neurological, not behavioral. In Japanese parenting, this is why observe before you correct is essential. When we pause and watch, rather than fix or redirect too quickly, we begin to see the small signals that reveal how the child processes their world. And next, we're going to connect this to the most important early indicators, because understanding the why helps parents respond with confidence instead of fear. When we talk about early social development, eye contact and gestures are not cute milestones. They are the foundation for emotional connection, language, and healthy child behavior. In gentle parenting, we understand that children communicate long before they speak, and their earliest words are often nonverbal. A look, a point, a raised arm when they want to be held. Around 18 to 24 months, the brain forms crucial pathways that help children interpret and respond to social cues. This period is sometimes called the social ignition stage, because the child's awareness of other people suddenly expands. They begin to understand that communication is a two-way exchange. They look at you not just because you're present, but because your face provides meaning. So when you pause during play, the most developmentally expected response is that the child looks up as if saying, "Why did you stop?" This shared attention child-object parent is a key part of social-emotional learning. It shows the child is connecting the dots between what they want, how they feel, and who can help them communicate it. But what about a child who only looks at the toy, who does not glance up even briefly? In gentle parenting, we do not label this as defiance or disinterest. Instead, we ask, what is the child's brain prioritizing at this moment? Some children are deeply sensory-driven. The object in their hand provides predictability, clarity, and stimulation that the social exchange does not yet offer. Their brains may still be learning how to shift attention from object-person. That shift requires a set of neurological skills that mature at different rates in different children. Japanese parenting describes this beautifully with the concept of reading the air. the idea that children learn to sense emotional atmosphere and respond accordingly. But reading the air takes time. If your child struggles with eye contact or gestures, it may simply mean they are still developing the capacity to integrate emotional and sensory information simultaneously. That is why observing their natural rhythm is essential. For some children, connection is immediate. For others, connection grows slowly, through repeated gentle interactions, not forced attention. The goal is not to make the child perform social behaviors, but to understand how their brain engages with the world and support them through that process. One of the strongest predictors of healthy social development is a skill called joint attention, the ability for a child to share focus with someone else on the same object or moment. It sounds simple, but it's actually one of the most complex skills developing toddlers must master. In fact, research shows that joint attention supports everything from language growth to emotional regulation, problem solving, and long-term social confidence. Let's break this down through gentle parenting lenses. Imagine you hold up your child's favorite toy car, place it across the room, and say, "Where's your car?" A child who has developed joint attention will not only point to the car, they will also look back at you to confirm that you're sharing the moment with them. That look back is the heart of joint attention. It communicates, "Do you see what I see? Are you with me in this moment?" This small action reflects huge developmental milestones. It shows the child understands that you have a mind separate from theirs, and that connection requires participation from both sides. Now contrast that with a child who points but does not look back, or a child who walks toward the toy but never tries to include you in the experience. In gentle parenting, we interpret this not as avoidance, but as a sign that the child may still be learning how to integrate emotional and cognitive attention. Japanese parenting offers an important insight here. Children must first feel emotionally safe before they can share attention. When a child does not look back, it may mean they are overwhelmed. They are too focused on the sensory goal. They are unsure how to include you in the interaction. They have not yet built the neural pathways that support reciprocal attention. But here is the key. Children can develop joint attention through slow, connected, pressure-free interactions. Gentle parenting practices like waiting longer before prompting, narrating what you observe, and letting the child lead the play actually strengthen these pathways. For example, when your child points, you can pause, smile, and say, "You found the car, I see it too." When your child looks up even briefly, you celebrate the moment internally, because that glance means the connection is forming. When your child struggles to look back, you adjust the interaction to reduce demand and increase safety. Over time, these small responses teach the child that communication is a shared experience, not a performance. And that lesson becomes a lifelong foundation for healthier child behavior, emotional resilience, and secure attachment. And now that we understand these early signals, we're ready to explore the Japanese parenting rules that can strengthen them even in children who show subtle delays. One of the moments that worries parents the most is when their child does not respond to their name. You call gently once, no reaction. You wait. Call again. Still nothing. By the third call, you begin to wonder, is my child ignoring me? Are they overwhelmed? Or is something deeper happening inside their development? In gentle parenting, we do not assume defiance, we assume a story. Every pause, every delay, every moment of non-response reveals something about how your child organizes attention. And developmentally, responding to their name is not a simple skill. It requires the brain to do several things at once. Shift attention from what they're focused on. Recognize the sound of their name. Connect the sound to the idea that someone wants their attention. Physically respond by looking, pausing, or vocalizing. If even one of these steps is hard for your child, the entire process can break down. Many toddlers, especially between 18 and 24 months, are so deeply absorbed in sensory play that it can feel impossible to pull their attention away. A spinning object, a rolling car, or a textured toy can completely consume their processing capacity. This is typical behavior for many children. But when the lack of response happens consistently, it becomes a signal worth observing. Japanese parenting offers a culturally rich perspective on this behavior. In Japan, parents are taught that a child cannot respond outwardly until they feel regulated inwardly. In other words, if the child's nervous system is overwhelmed or highly focused, responding to a name may be outside their immediate abilities, not because they cannot hear, but because they are still learning to shift emotional and cognitive states. From a child behavior standpoint, when a child does respond, perhaps on the second or third call, it shows us that the pathways are developing. But when the child rarely responds, and this happens across different environments, gentle parenting encourages us to observe without panic. Instead, we look for patterns. Does your child respond more when calm? Do they respond better in quiet settings? Do they look but not vocalize? Do they respond more to one caregiver than another? These clues matter. They help us distinguish between emotional overwhelm, sensory absorption, or a developing social communication delay. And this is why Japanese parenting emphasizes slow, consistent, low-pressure interactions. Instead of calling the child's name rapidly or loudly, the parent pauses, waits, and gives space, because space reduces demand, and reduced demand increases the likelihood of response. By 18 months, many children should be able to say at least 3 meaningful words besides mama or dada. By 2 years old, the range typically expands to 20 to 50 words, and children begin combining them. More apple, daddy go, big dog. But words alone do not define communication. Gentle parenting focuses on the entire communication system: tone, gestures, eye contact, turn-taking, and emotional exchange. Some parents assume late talking is simply a personality trait. Others fear it indicates something serious. But understanding the why behind language delays is essential to understanding child behavior. Language development requires social attention, looking, noticing, engaging; receptive understanding, processing meaning; motor planning, coordinating muscles for speech; emotional regulation, staying calm enough to use language. If one area is developing more slowly, the child may speak less, not because they lack intelligence, but because their brain is prioritizing other skills first. For example, a child who struggles with eye contact or gestures may find verbal communication harder because they have fewer social cues to guide them. A child who becomes overstimulated easily may shut down rather than attempt new sounds. A child who prefers solitary or sensory play may not get as many opportunities for conversational turn-taking. Japanese parenting has a beautiful phrase, kotoba wa kokoro kara. Words come from the heart. This perspective reminds us that emotional connection precedes language. When a child feels seen, safe, and understood, their brain becomes more open to developing expressive language. So instead of pressuring a child to use your words, gentle parenting encourages strategies like modeling simple phrases rather than commanding them, using rich emotional narration, "You wanted the ball back, you looked at me so clearly," allowing longer pauses so the child has time to respond without feeling rushed, celebrating attempts, not perfection. When parents slow down, the child's nervous system relaxes, and communication becomes possible again. This is how emotional safety leads to language growth and why many children speak more once the pressure to perform has been removed. Now that we've explored these foundational behaviors, let's move deeper into how children share joy, how pretend play develops, and why these emotional milestones are essential to healthy child behavior. When your child doesn't share their excitement, what this signals about emotional development. One of the most powerful windows into a child's emotional world is how they share excitement. Picture a toddler who finds a ladybug on the porch. Many children will gasp, pick it up gently, run to you, hold it up, and look straight into your eyes as if saying, "Can you believe this? Look what I found." This moment of shared joy is called social sharing, and it is a fundamental building block of healthy child behavior. Social sharing tells us 3 important things about a child's development. They want to include you emotionally. They understand joy grows when it's shared. They trust your reaction to help them interpret their own feelings. But some toddlers do not naturally share these moments. They may find something interesting and choose to explore it alone. They may hand it to you without looking up, or they may drop it in your lap and walk away before you have a chance to react. In gentle parenting, we approach this through curiosity, not fear. We ask, is my child comfortable inviting me into their internal world? Or do they prefer to process feelings on their own? This distinction matters. Children who struggle with social sharing often have difficulty coordinating 3 simultaneous tasks: feeling something, thinking about the feeling, communicating it to another person. It's not that they don't enjoy the moment, it's that sharing the moment adds another layer of complexity. Japanese parenting describes this as kokoro no yubisashi, pointing with the heart. It means a child reaches outward emotionally when they feel safe inwardly. So if your child rarely brings you objects, or brings them without looking at you, gentle parenting teaches us to create more emotional invitations, rather than more instructions. For example, when your child finds something interesting, kneel down and narrate softly, "You discovered something special. I'm right here when you want to show me." When they finally look up, even for a split second, respond warmly, helping their brain associate connection with joy. When they explore alone, avoid labeling it as antisocial. Many children simply share in quieter ways. Through repeated safe interactions, children gradually learn, my world matters to you. I can bring my feelings to you. I can trust you with my excitement. These are the seeds of long-term emotional resilience. Pretend play, repetitive behaviors, and what they reveal about a child's inner world. Between 18 months and 2.5 years, children enter what developmental science calls the symbolic play stage. This is where stuffed animals gain personalities, toy cars develop motives, and spoons become microphones in the toddler version of a world tour. Pretend play matters because it reflects a child's growing capacity for imagination, empathy, and emotional organization. When a child feeds a doll, tucks in a teddy bear, or creates a dramatic dinosaur battle, they are practicing some of the most sophisticated cognitive tasks of early childhood. Assigning roles, understanding emotions, creating sequences, problem-solving through stories, rehearsing real-life situations in a safe environment. These behaviors are the foundation of flexible thinking and strong child behavior later on. But some children struggle with symbolic play. Instead of pretending to feed the doll, they might repeatedly spin its arms. Instead of making a car race across the room, they may spin its wheels over and over. Instead of setting up a tea party, they might line up the cups in a perfectly straight row every single time. In gentle parenting, we never jump to the conclusion that something is wrong. Instead, we consider what the child is seeking: predictability, sensory regulation, repetition that soothes the nervous system, control over a world that feels overwhelming. Repetitive behaviors, sometimes called stimming, are not inherently negative. All humans stim in some way. Tapping fingers, bouncing feet, twirling hair. For toddlers, these actions can be calming, exciting, or simply satisfying. The question is not, does my child stim? The real question is, does stimming replace connection or merely support regulation? Japanese parenting offers a gentle framework here. Instead of stopping the behavior, parents observe its purpose. For example, if your child spins wheels for 2 minutes, watch quietly and join with soft narration. You like how the wheel moves. This supports emotional safety. Then, after the child feels regulated, you gradually introduce a new layer. Now the car wants to go somewhere. Should we make a road? This approach expands their play without interrupting their regulation. Similarly, for a child who lines up toys, we don't say, "Don't do that." We say, "I see you made a pattern. Can one of them go on an adventure?" This bridges their preferred style of play with new social possibilities. Pretend play does not emerge through pressure. It emerges through emotional safety, modeling, and connection. And this leads directly into the long-term strategies. How Japanese parenting rules help transform these early signals into stronger communication, deeper emotional bonds, and healthier child behavior over time. By now, we've looked at many early signals: eye contact, gestures, name response, social joy, pretend play, and repetitive behaviors, and what they reveal about your child's emotional and neurological development. But here's the truth most parents never hear. These early behaviors don't just appear out of nowhere. They grow or struggle to grow based on the environment we create around the child. This is where Japanese parenting offers a profound long-term strategy. The guiding philosophy is simple but transformative: connection before correction, observation before instruction. Japanese parents often spend long periods quietly watching their child play without interrupting. They are not waiting to catch a mistake, they are waiting to understand the child's rhythm. And this is critical for healthy child behavior, because children who feel seen, not judged, begin to open themselves emotionally. Here's the long-term impact of this approach. 1. Children develop internal regulation before external obedience. Instead of forcing compliance through commands, "Look at me," "Use your words," "Pay attention," the parent waits for small signs of readiness and responds warmly. When the child internalizes safety, social skills emerge naturally. 2. The child's nervous system stabilizes. Children who easily become overstimulated or lost in sensory play gradually learn to shift attention not because they're forced, but because they trust the connection. 3. The parent-child relationship gains emotional depth. When a child brings you their joy or their confusion for the first time, that moment isn't accidental. It's the result of hundreds of quiet, safe, consistent interactions. 4. Language and pretend play blossom later not because the child was fixed, but because the child finally feels understood. Emotional safety creates cognitive flexibility. Cognitive flexibility fuels communication. This is the heart of gentle parenting. We don't push the child toward development. We create the conditions where development feels safe. Here's the twist no one talks about: the same behaviors that worry you most, can become your most powerful entry points for connection. Parents often fear, "My child doesn't look at me. My child doesn't share excitement. My child only lines things up. My child doesn't respond to their name." But each of these behaviors shows you exactly where your child's nervous system needs support. If your child doesn't look up when play stops, this is an opportunity to slow down your interaction, soften your facial expression, reduce verbal cues, and give their brain more time to shift attention. If your child doesn't point or check back with you, this signals a need for more shared experiences, not more instructions. Narrating what you see, "You found something interesting," gently invites them into reciprocal attention. If your child doesn't respond to their name, this is a clue to reduce background noise, simplify sensory demands, and increase emotional closeness during communication. If your child prefers repetitive play, this is an opening to join them where they are, regulate with them, and then introduce new layers of play when they're ready, not before. And here is the most important truth. Asterisk, asterisk, children do not grow from pressure. Children grow from presence. Asterisk, asterisk. The earlier you recognize your child's natural patterns, the sooner you can support them with warmth, clarity, and emotional safety. This is the long-term strategy behind both gentle parenting and Japanese parenting. The belief that development happens from the inside out. When parents shift from controlling behavior to understanding behavior, everything changes. Children look more. Children share more. Children speak more. Children regulate more. Children connect more deeply. The signals that frightened you at first become the very signals that guide you toward the relationship your child has been needing. When you begin paying attention to the subtle signals your child gives you, the glance, the pause, the way they play, the moments they seek you out or retreat, you start to see their behavior not as a problem to solve, but as a language to understand. This is the heart of gentle parenting. Recognizing that every child has a rhythm, a nervous system, and an internal world uniquely their own. The Japanese principle of observe before you correct reminds us that development unfolds in layers. Some children connect quickly, others connect quietly. Some communicate with gestures, others communicate through play. What matters most is not how fast these skills appear, but how safe the child feels while learning them. So if your child shows some of the signs we explored today, let your first response be curiosity, not fear. Let your second response be presence, not pressure. With the right support, children grow in extraordinary ways, often faster than we expect, once they feel truly seen. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think these Japanese rules could transform child behavior in the United States? If you're interested in more science-based gentle parenting analysis, emotional development breakdowns, and real-life strategies you can use today, remember to subscribe. Your journey toward deeper connection with your child starts here.